I want to assure you, Chancellor Scholz, Israel is a liberal democracy and will remain a liberal democracy. I personally have led Israel for almost the last 16 years, and I've helped liberalize the Israeli system, liberalize its economy, liberalize its way of life, advance the rights of LGBTs. How many of you know, contrary to the image that is foisted, that the Likud has a powerful LGBT cell, and its leader was nominated by me and elected overwhelmingly to be the Speaker of the Israeli Knesset. I bet very few of you know that. The image that is foisted as though we're trying to bring a judicial reform to curtail the independence of the judiciary is not true. Israel has an independent judiciary, but many feel, I'm not able to talk about specific ideas, many feel that it is an all-powerful judiciary. An independent judiciary is not an all-powerful judiciary. The judicial reform is meant to bring into balance the three branches of government, and when that is accomplished, we will have the same balance that exists in any other democracy. I think we can borrow some of your ideas, Chancellor. We had an opportunity to discuss them. But in fact, they're very different from what people think or do not know about this judicial reform. For example, that in most countries, including in Germany, judges are chosen by elected officials. How you choose them, how you make sure that no one side overrides the other is important. But the ideas that are presented in Israel as though this is a break with democracy is not true. Israel will remain a liberal democracy, not different and as strong and as vibrant as it was before and as Europe is today. We are not going to deviate from that one bit, and we're committed to it. Israel is not going to abolish democratic principles. If the democratic principle that we're about to abolish is that judges do not elect judges, do not have a veto power in electing judges, then Germany is not following democratic principles because judges do not have a veto power in Germany. They don't have a veto power in many other countries. So it's absurd. Look, you can issue any slogan, and any slogan is being issued, and Israel is being constantly, maligned. I'm supposed to be some, potentate who's abolishing democracy and all this nonsense. It will take not a lot of time to realize that this is absurd. It's preposterous. So I don't think you have a real question about Israel's values. They will be tested over time, and they will be proven over time to maintain the democratic norms that are available in just about every other democracy. We're not trying to change Israel's democracy. We're trying to bring it in line with what is common and acceptable in just about every Western democracy. Not to pick and choose this or that reform so that we can make it illiberal, but to make it more liberal, more responsive to the people, and more representative of the various views that are in the society, but not to have dictatorial powers of any party or any branch of the government. There has to be a balance. That's the nature of democracy. The nature of democracy is to balance majority rule with civil and individual and minority rights. The only way that that is accomplished in modern democracies is by a balance between the three branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. In Israel, that balance has been changed radically. And what we're trying to do is bring it back into balance. That will not hinder Israeli democracy. It will strengthen it. It will not hinder independent judiciary. It will maintain it. It will not in any way jeopardize individual rights. It will solidify them. In fact, I discussed all this with the chancellor, and I'm sure if you want, we can spend the next few hours repeating our conversation. But I think you should understand that this is what guides me. I've led Israel liberalize its economy, and the slanders and falsification against us, I can't fight this tide. The only way I'll fight this tide, and we will fight this tide, is that the outcome, when it comes, will be tested over time, and people will see. Has Israel become more liberal, or has it become less liberal? Does Israel protect individual rights, women's rights, LGBT rights, or did it become this absurd notion of a halachic ultra-Orthodox state? It's absurd. Israel was, is, and will remain a liberal society. I called many times for discussions with the opposition. Regrettably, all these appeals were met with a complete refusal to even sit for 1 day, for 1 hour, for 1 minute about discussing possible zones of agreement to reach a consensus. I think this reflects the fact that there is no real desire to reach that, and in fact, there is a desire to reach a moment of crisis, perhaps a governmental breakdown, a search for new elections. If that continues, that's regrettable, but we will do whatever we think is the right thing to achieve something that is that corrects the imbalance that exists today between the branches of government, and yet at the same time could over time be accepted as the best solution for Israel, in line with my principles of keeping Israel a liberal, balanced democracy. And I don't think anyone should be concerned with that, because that is our goal, and that is something that will be done. Even though I can't intervene with it directly, which is another absurdity, if I'm asked, and I'm sure I will be asked, would I support the changes that bring about two things? One, a balance in the way that we choose judges, because in Israel today, judges effectively have a veto power in the choice of judges, something that barely exists. I don't know that it exists anywhere. It certainly doesn't exist in Germany. It doesn't exist in most democracies, and it shouldn't exist in Israel. There is a way to balance it and correct the way we choose judges so it reflects the broad spectrum of society and broad views, but not allow one side to dominate the other. We're not seeking that. So I would obviously support that. And the second thing that I think is being asked and should be discussed is the question of judicial override. That is a real issue. It's a real concern. You want to maintain the balance between the branches of government, but not to tilt the balance by correcting the imbalance, not to turn it to an imbalance on the other side. These are real issues. I don't deny it. I think if we don't have a partner, we'll try to come up with the best solution. But the answer to your question is, I think we need as broad a consensus as we can. I regret the fact that the opposition refused to discuss it for even one moment. Lacking that, we'll try to give the best solution that we can.